Hi, I'm Mike Reagan with TW Trainworx, here to talk about the components that we have available for our elevated systems. You may have seen some photos of custom model railroads that we've built in the past that have elevated track systems on them with really cool railing around it, some piers that support that elevated system, and we actually have those components available for sale for you guys at home to construct your own elevated system using our components. So I'd like to take some time today and talk about the four main components that we have available, some of their attributes, and what you can do with it. So to start with, we have two piers, and these are the components that raise the whole elevated system off the main train layout itself. We have a single track pier made out of 1/2-inch PVC. It's 4.5 inches wide at the top, and it's 7.25 inches tall overall. This component here is a T31, and they retail for $7.39 each. The next component we have is a double track pier. Now this measures 9 3/4 on the top and 7.25 overall. Again, made out of 1/2-inch PVC, very strong rigid material, yet lightweight. These things sell for $9.49 a piece, and again they'll accommodate 2 tracks as opposed to single. The next two components we have are the truss rails, and these are actually pretty slick. So we have a R41, which is a very tight girder pattern here on the bottom, and then the railings up on top. Now these truss rails, they come in lengths of 8 feet. So they're 96 inches overall, but really there's only about 95 inches of usable railing on that 8-foot length. So if you look at any of the technical drawings we have on the website, you'll see that the length that's shown is 95 inches. What you get in the mail is 96. The truss rail is also made out of PVC. I believe this is 1/8 inch thick, and it's really quite durable. You know, you can bend this stuff quite a bit, so it really works out well whether you're doing a straight section, transitioning into a curve. It's very, very durable, very, very flexible, yet very lightweight. Is the R31, and this has a much more open girder pattern down here on the bottom. They're 2 3/8 tall on the R31, and it's 2 7/16 inches tall on the R41. Now, the important part of this system is to note that this full section right here in the middle on both truss rails, that measures 1/2 inch thick. And why that's important is if you're going to fabricate one of these things on your own, you're basically going to use 1/2 inch plywood or 1/2 inch MDF as your roadbed, right? What you mount your track to. So basically lay out your track pattern however you want it on a piece of MDF or piece of 1/2 inch plywood. You want to measure, you want to draw your track plan on there, and then you want to cut that roadbed to a width of 4.5 inches minimum. And the reason it's got to be 4.5 inches for a single track is because this pier is going to have to fit up underneath the roadbed and between the truss rails. So this piece I have here is actually 4 3/4 inches wide, just a piece I had laying around the shop, and I glued the R31 and the R41 truss rail on it just as an example to show you what it looks like. And then the single track pier would just mount up on the bottom, run a screw down through the MDF into the pier to secure it, and pretty much good to go. So take a look at a couple of these videos that, or not videos, but photos that we have of layouts that we've used the truss rail system on before, the elevated system on before, just to kind of give you an idea of what it looks like. Okay, let's just take a few minutes and put a sample of the elevated system together. So what we have is we have our R31 truss rails. We have 3 of the T31 single piers. We have a piece of half-inch MDF that I've ripped down to a width of 4 9/16 of an inch. 4.5 is the minimum. I gave myself just about a 1/16 of an inch of cushion there. So to get started, I've already marked out 10-inch centers on the MDF, and I've already drilled some pilot holes. I've got 2 pilot holes per pier, and the way that it goes together is pretty simple. I'm going to go ahead and take my screws. These are just 1 1/4 inch deck screws that I had sitting in the shop with a T20 star bit. Real simple. I just took the pier, lined it up with the holes that I drilled, positioned it here in the center, put a squeeze clamp from here to here, drilled the first hole, sunk the screw, and then took the clamp off and did the same with the other side. So let's go ahead and put this together real quick. Go ahead and set this down. Get that screw started through the wood so I can see my pilot hole. I've already got it. Okay, so now we have a 24.5 inch long section created with the single piers. Next thing to do is to go ahead and put on our truss rails. So what I've got is I've got a little bit of thick cyanoacrylic glue or super glue. It comes typically it comes thin, medium, and thick. Because I'm putting the PVC directly onto the MDF, I'm going to use the thick super glue. And the way we're going to do that is just like this. Just going to go ahead and put a thick bead all the way down the center. Now the MDF is going to want to absorb this super glue. So if you're using thin, it's going to absorb that thin super glue very quickly, as opposed to the thick cyanoacrylic glue. So I got a bead of glue down. I'm going to take the truss rail so that the arc is bending in, so that I don't have to fight with it too much. And I'm going to try and stand this up for you. Basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to align this 1/2 inch thickness of the truss rail with this 1/2 inch MDF. And I also have a little bit of kicker or cyanoacrylic accelerator. And basically what that does is when you spray that on the super glue, it forces the super glue to dry immediately. So I'm just keeping an eye on the top of the roadbed or the MDF and the truss rail to make sure that it's even all the way across. And take my kicker, squirt a little bit on here as I go. And like I said, this forces the super glue to dry immediately so that you're not stuck here holding it for a long period of time. Alright, that side's mounted up. Now we're going to go ahead and switch. We've got a completed single track elevated system with our piers and our truss rail, and we used MDF. So as you can see with the track in there, it creates perfect setting for fast track. I'd like to give you an example of the ease of assembly with the elevated system using the PVC roadbed that we can custom fabricate for you. As I mentioned earlier in the video, if you send us your track plan, we can design the entire roadbed system for you and cut it, ship the entire system to you in parts complete, and it's very, very easy to assemble. In this example, what I'm using is actually PVC cement. If you've done any plumbing work before, you typically get a can of primer that's a blue or purple color, and you also get a can of PVC cement. We don't need to use the primer here, just the cement. And the way it goes together is pretty simple. I am going to use a small square just to make sure I get my piers completely perpendicular with the roadbed. And so the way it works is like this. Take a little bit of this PVC cement. It can be a little messy if you let it be. Apply this to the top of the pier. You don't want to get any excess off of there, that's for sure. Don't want that on the underside. Of course, you probably won't see it, but nevertheless. And then we're going to simply position our pier here in the center, or roughly what we believe to be the center. Just like so. Take our square and just make sure that we are perpendicular to that roadbed. We're going to wait just a few seconds for that glue to set up. It happens pretty quickly. And move on to our next piece. And we just need to put our truss rails on. So I've cut these truss rails at the same length for the sake of the video, just to show how it all goes together. Now there is a slight bow in this particular piece of PVC. So what we're going to do is we're going to walk down here slowly and just glue in small sections and work our way down the section of roadbed. So we'll apply glue to this section here, and again taking off the excess. We've got the bow going away from the roadbed. We're going to line up this thick center section, and just like so. I'll hold that here for a couple of seconds. You can, of course, clamp this if you've got a lot of roadbed to do. Might want to plan for maybe 45 minutes to an hour, and have some squeeze clamps available. It'd make this go a lot quicker if you could clamp this up as you move down the roadbed. So we're going to just give this a few more seconds to set up. You can use super glue for this process as well. Just wanted to show you how it assembles with the PVC cement, since all the material we use here is PVC. So I'm just going to lift this up slightly and set it down. And once again, just line it up here. Have to pull on that just a little bit. Let the PVC cement take hold, and have it nipped in the bud. So as you can see, it's really simple to put this system together, and it does create a nice aesthetic look for any type of elevated system you have on your layout. You know, and well, the great part about it is it works with any track system out there. So whether you're using Gargraves or Fast Track, Real Tracks, Ross Custom Switches, Atlas O, any of the other track systems, and that's it. Your PVC roadbed, truss rails, and piers completely assembled with PVC cement. If the 7 1/4 inch overall height wasn't tall enough for your application, so what we talked about was taking a piece of 1/2 inch MDF or a piece of 1/2 inch plywood, cutting it down to the width of the bottom of the pier, and I think earlier I said it was 2.5 inches. It's actually 3 inches here on the bottom. So what I've done is I've just taken a piece of 1/2 inch MDF scrap that I had laying here in the shop, and I ripped this down to 3 inches wide to 2.5 inches tall, and just applied a quick coat of dark gray and dry brush 2 lighter grays on top of it to make it look like weathered concrete. And so basically what the system is designed to do, or what I designed it to do, is to just glue to the bottom of your pier. So we want to use that thick, I guess in this application it doesn't matter what thickness super glue you use because the surface is painted. We're basically just going to apply a small bead of super glue here on the bottom of the truss, take our simulated concrete pier, line it up with the ends and also in the center, put a little downward pressure on it, I'm going to hit it with just a little bit of kicker for posterity's sake. And I've got a elevated pier that's now 7 1/4 plus 2 1/2, so we're at 9 3/4 of an inch tall overall. So again, you can raise the piers up to whatever distance you need simply by adding a piece of 1/2 inch MDF cut to the width. Again, on the single, it's on the T31, it's 3 inches on the bottom, and add whatever height you need to 7 1/4 inches to get the height that you require for your application. We hope this video has been helpful to you, and encourage you to remember the elevated system components that we have available here at TW Trainworx. We certainly hope that these products will become of use to you on your home layout. And once again, if you have an elevated system in mind and you don't want to tackle it yourself, or you want something a little more custom, or even a lot more custom, it's something that we can easily take care of for you at TW Trainworx. Just give us a holler at the number at the bottom of the screen here, and we'll be more than happy to help you out with either the number of components you need for your application, or helping you with a completely custom elevated system for your model railroad.